Welcome to the Sharpe Show. So happy to have you with me this evening. I know it has been a little bit past 8 p.m. on the East Coast. It was a tough day for me today, doing a bunch of phone work. I was working today. And on top of working today, I had to do some traveling with some people today too. So boy, it was a tough day, but I got here at least because I wanted to make sure that I did at least one Ask Me Anything every week. I try my best and you guys like it. You can ask me questions on things that I usually don't talk about or odd stuff or whatever. It's all good. Happy to do it. I did want to start on one thing, which I thought was kind of interesting or maybe important, or I don't know what you might call, but it's something I talk about often. It's the idea of reaching across the aisle, as they always say, or the idea of talking to your enemy, or the idea of having conversations with people who aren't in your circle. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is, some of you who may be paying attention, some of you may not be, Bill Maher, the clearly anti-Trump, pro-Harris, pro-whomever, he didn't really like Biden, but he was definitely pro-Harris, definitely anti-Trump guy from late night on HBO, went to visit President Trump at the White House. And he has literally attacked Trump multiple times, and Trump has attacked him. This is not a one-way street. They have attacked each other constantly. They have attacked each other like there's no tomorrow. I mean, Trump actually sued him once. That's how bad this has been. They have been very aggressive against each other. Absolutely. And Kid Rock, who knows both of them, decided to put them both together, and Trump said yes. And there are some people who are unhappy about that on both sides, to be fair. Mostly people on the left are more unhappy than the right. That's for sure. But there's some on the right who are unhappy also, but it's much more on the left who are unhappy. And the question is this a good thing? Now, I understand the logic behind people on the left who don't like this. I do. I get the logic. The logic is, wait a minute, if you do this, you're validating him, blah, 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 right? You're validating him, or you're platforming him, or whatever the case may be, right? I get that concept. The concept is, the concept is, hey, if I go see Trump, then I now support all of his policies or validate him as real or whatever, or I'm supporting him in some way, shape, or form. I'm normalizing him. I get it. Now, not just that. If you're a Democrat and you follow, Democratic policies and Democratic talking points, literally, Trump is the famous Austrian fascist who took over Germany in the 30s. He's that guy. If he's that guy, why would you, right? I mean, clearly I don't believe it to be true, right? Clearly I don't believe that. But if you're a Democrat and you've been hearing these talking points for like 10 years now, and he is, again, literally, he is the same as the famous Austrian with the funny mustache who took over Germany in the 30s, why would you go? Of course you wouldn't. You wouldn't support that guy, would you? This is where the rhetoric that, again, generally speaking, there's exceptions, obviously. Generally speaking, Democrats tend to have better rhetoric. They tend to have better talking points than Republicans do. Their talking points tend to be positive and nice, and we're going to save the world, and it's going to be butterflies, and it's going to be amazing. Not when it comes to Trump. Trump, he is the worst in the world. It's the end of the world. It's going to be, remember, there's going to be no more elections. Remember that? No more elections. They're going away, all that stuff. Why would you go? Yeah, because all that was BS. But the problem is you've been talking so long that the people now believe it so much that they can't believe it, that it becomes a circular firing squad. It becomes you can't go there because they're evil, so don't talk to them. Was this a good thing? For the Democratic establishment? No. If you are a member of the Democratic Party establishment, no. It's not a good thing. It literally goes against what you're talking about. It goes against your story you've been telling. It goes against everything you've been fighting. It's not good. How do we know this? Look what happened when the people at MSNBC went. As soon as they went, you just watched more and more of their tanking of their ratings, gone and getting worse and worse and worse. If you are a member of the Democratic establishment, this was a terrible idea for you. If I don't know if any of them are watching this show, I doubt it, but if any of you are members of the Democratic establishment, I'm sorry. This was bad for you. If you're a regular member of the Democratic Party, regular member, or you usually vote left or you vote Democrat, this in the short run is bad for you. In the long run, it's very good for you. What do I mean by that? The Democratic Party has to get out of the bubble. It has to, if it wants to survive at all. So if you are left-leaning or you vote Democratic, in the short run, this will suck because your establishment is going to tell you how bad it is, and they're going to hit you over the head with it. But after that, you're going to actually have to open yourselves up to have better conversations and make things better. This is why in the long run, what Gavin Newsom did was good. In the short run, it was not. Again, he got yelled at, hammered, and he isn't that good of a podcaster, so his show isn't going to be that great. But in the long run, it will be good for him and the party. If you are a regular, everyday Democrat who votes left sometimes or votes Democrat sometimes, in the long run, this is a good idea. In the short run, it's going to suck. If your party establishment, you like the establishment, this is terrible for you. This is terrible because you're basing your entire party off orange man bad, and you have for the past 10 years. Well, if Bill Maher is going to come out and go, he's not so bad, kind of messes up your narrative. So that's my view on that. I think in the short run, it may be tough for them, but I think in the long run, I think it's probably a good thing. So in the long run, just my 2 cents. All righty. I hope that made sense at least. I know that was kind of a short one. Usually I spend more time chatting. I spend more time chatting about other things a bit longer, but I just thought that would be interesting. So, all righty. Let me see if I can go down here and grab a couple of these. All righty. Michael asked, what do you think of the U.S. sovereign wealth fund, Larry? I think a U.S. sovereign wealth fund would be an amazing idea. We should do that. Like tomorrow. Yes. Like tomorrow. Wealth funds, sovereign wealth funds are amazing. Let's do that. Yes. I don't care what it's with. I don't care if it's crypto. I don't care if it's gold. I don't care if it's some combination, whatever. Yes. It is exactly the right answer. We should do it. Love it. That is the way we could actually make it to a point where we could back our money with something. Not just because we say. That would be amazing. I'm a big fan of that. So there we go. I hope that answers your question. I love the idea. So, all right, let me grab a couple more if I could. Home equity tap, I think, is teasing me, or maybe doesn't know any better. When does this start? Usually on time. Well, not always, but close to on time. Within 5 minutes. There we go. I try to do this at 7 p.m. when I can. But here, just so you are aware on why it's become challenging for me. I try to still work a 9 to 5 when I can. I try to have a work schedule where I can get stuff done. So I often don't know what I'm talking about till like 5 or 5:30. Well, if my day goes long, if I have a problem with something, if things change, then I can't get up by 7. I end up push to 7:30, sometimes 8. I try to mix and match. I try my best to get stuff done by 7. I can't always. So, but I do try. And I literally just jump on board to the best of my ability, remember when I remember, and talk. This is done live with no notes. I just talk. So this is why home equity tap. So yes. Monkey See Monkey Do says, yes, it was a good thing. I agree. I think that you're going to see in the long run, this type of thing is the only way we can actually rebuild anything. America is in trouble for many reasons. One of the biggest reasons of anything else obviously we worry about things like debt and the Fed, of course, wars, all big. But the biggest reason internally for America is that we're not talking to each other. That's the biggest thing. That division ensures we can't fix anything else, right? You may go, Larry, that's not true. That's the reason. And tariffs are the perfect example. If you were to go back 10 years, Democrats are all about tariffs, all about it. 20 years, all about it, all about tariffs. Right now they hate them. Why? Because Trump wants them. And they'll say things like, well, no, it's the way he does it. Well, if you have a conversation with them, they may say that. But openly, it's tariffs are bad, tariffs are terrible. Why? Because Trump says so. If Trump was not with tariffs, they'd want tariffs. How do we know that? Biden was pro-tariff. It's just division. So how can we have a serious conversation within a nation about whether X tariffs are good or X tariffs are bad? We can't because of division. So we can't solve the problems that are bigger problems because we just pick a side. You go back, what, 20 years, maybe? Is it 20 years? Maybe 25 years. I'm not sure about, but some of you who've been around will know this. Democrats were for building a wall. Democrats wanted to build a wall. I'm not making that up. Democrats wanted to build a wall. They were anti-immigration. Because remember, Republicans were like, free labor, bring the labor over, right? Remember, Reagan gave amnesty. One of the most popular Republicans ever. Now we have to be against the wall. Why? Because Trump is for the wall. Therefore, I'm against it. It doesn't matter if it makes sense anymore. I don't care what the logic is. So you can't solve any other problem if we don't do this. Shelley, I think, remember, goes right to it. Better to talk to someone than talk about them. Correct. Yes. Correct. Yes. It's definitely important that we do have conversations. That's the issue. So Mike Voss is in the house. I appreciate this. Mike, how are you, sir? He says, only if Dems listen to public and do more than flash in the pan half-hearted gimmicks like Michelle Obama's podcast. And I think to just to this point, Mike, for the establishment, like Michelle Obama, this was not a good thing, right? Because it shows that her podcast is going to be nowhere near as popular as Bill Maher talking to Trump, right? Even within the left and the right, it's much more popular. That's true. For the establishment, this is a terrible thing. It's going to hurt them. It shows how broken the Democratic establishment is. It shows them this. But for the average left-leaning or Democratic voter, I think this is in the long run, it's going to be good for them because they're going to realize, well, then maybe I shouldn't just be watching Michelle Obama. I mean, the show sucks anyway. Maybe I should look at something else. Maybe I should think about something else. Maybe I should have a conversation. So I think in the long run, that will be the case. So, yes. Shelley says, Democrats seem to be extremely tone deaf to the public lately. Correct. And it's, again, you can see why. Look, in theory, right? In theory, why Trump should not have been elected theoretically, if you looked, that's the wrong word I'm using for. Conventional wisdom. There we go. I'll use that that's a better phrase. Via conventional wisdom, Trump should not have been elected, right? Conventional wisdom, which clearly did not apply, but that's what I'm saying. If we were to think about conventional wisdom, Trump should not have been elected, right? He's a convicted felon. He was impeached, right? He doesn't talk like most presidents talk. He shouldn't have been elected, but he was. Okay, then why did America go against what if this was 20 years ago? They probably would have gone with conventional wisdom, but now they won't. Why? What changed? To your point, Shelley, I think you're exactly correct. The Democratic establishment has been utterly tone deaf. They have not heard anything people are talking about. And people said, well, I have someone who's not listening to me. And I asked that Trump, who at least is listening to me. Well, at least act like he is. Who does he actually is? But at least he's saying some stuff. So you know what? I'll take him. I will break conventional wisdom because now at least I have a shot. I agree with you. The Democratic establishment has been terrible. Alexa says it's true. Yep. Monkey See Monkey Do is on my point. Thank you. The biggest reason we're in trouble is division. It only leads to one end, and it's a terrible endpoint. Unless people talk, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yes, correct. We're exactly on the same page, right? That piece is important. We've got to start talking. We just have to. So Hearst is happy Passover. Happy Passover, everybody. Shelley, happy Passover. Yes, absolutely. 100%. So Mike says, very few can cover politics without a script. Even many live streams from big names are mostly scripted. Why they don't address the chat like you do, Larry? Oh, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Yes. That's very true. A lot of these things are totally scripted. They're just reading from a teleprompter. It's very common. And they won't talk directly to the chat because they don't know what to say to the chat. So, yes. Vivek says, what do you think of Cam Higby? Higby, isn't that B-E-E? Is he the Newsmax guy? Is he? Vivek, if you're still watching, is he or is he OAM? Ugh. He's not Fox, right? He's like Newsmax or OAM. OAN, not OAM. OAN, right? He's OAN or Newsmax, I think. OAN, for these guys know, is One American News, One American Network, something like that. I don't know. Also, I kind of see why you like Tim Pool, but I don't get it with Lola. Who? They're just friends of mine. Like I know both of them. It's not like they're both. I know some of you like, Larry, how can you be friends with Tim Pool and Laura Luma? Because I'm friends with lots of people, and if you lean right, you'll be okay with that. But I'm friends with some very far left people, and I mean very far left. Like I'm friends with Howie Hawkins. He's been on my show more than once. Howie Hawkins is almost as left as they go. He's so far left. He's pro 2A. He's pro Second Amendment. As I always tell you, if you go left enough, you get your guns back. That's true, right? If you go left enough, you got to go past Bernie left to get your guns back. Howie Hawkins is past Bernie. So, yeah, I'm friends with lots of people that you might think are weird or odd, but it's true. I don't know Cam, to be full with you. I think he's on Newsmax. I have been on Newsmax before and OAN. OAN and Newsmax are aggressive. Like if you don't watch their shows, they're aggressive shows. And while they are news, they are very opinionated news. Like you might go, wait a minute, but so is MSNBC. True. So is Fox. True. Newsmax and OAN, they go to another level. They go to another level. Their news is what I say is news. That's literally what they are. Which I mean, it's very entertaining. Super entertaining. So if that's the right guy, please let me know, Vivek. I don't know him personally. So I don't know if he's a good guy or not. I've met a lot of Newsmax people because Newsmax people often go to political events in New York City. And if I'm at one of the events, I will often meet one of the reporters or chat with them. They also go to Freedom Fest. I'll meet them there. So I've met a lot of Newsmax people. I don't think I've met Cam before. I don't think so. If he's a Newsmax guy. So anyway, please let me know if you're still watching. So yeah. Alrighty. John says, Larry, I'm anxious to see if I will see this on CNN. You're not seeing much of this on the left-wing media. You're not seeing much of it. Again, their establishment, this is bad news for Democratic establishment. But if you look at some of the Democratic or left-leaning, I'll say, left-leaning shows, smaller Democratic, average Democrats or lefties in any way, shape, or form, however, people who lean left, you will see it on there, right? Again, I always make a distinction between the establishment and non-establishment because the average voter, generally speaking, doesn't know the difference. They're not sure what is what. This is bad for the establishment. For the average Democrat, in the long run, this will be good in the long run. Eventually, it will take time, but I think it will help them in the long run. So there we go. I don't remember seeing it on CNN at all. There might be one, but if so, it would be, yeah, maybe. Mike says, I was at an event today. Many unaware lithium battery plants are being built in residential areas. No coverage on this. Your thoughts? Many unaware lithium battery plants are being built in residential areas. I'm not sure what that means, Mike. I haven't heard this. This is new information for me. Are you saying that these are black market lithium battery plants that people are putting in their homes? Are you saying this is, they're rezoning to put an actual plant into a residential area, and the people don't want it or they want it? I don't know enough about this. I guess I could Google it, but I'm not sure about this, to be fair. And it's just New York, or is this other places? I don't really know. Shelly has an opinion now. She says, Mike, I'd be okay with lithium batteries being manufactured because it's regulated. If lithium batteries swap shop, that's extremely dangerous. That is, you read my mind, Shelly. You read my mind. I'd be concerned about that. Sam says, the money printer and lockdowns ruined my career and set me back more than I can express. I understand that completely, Sam. It trashed my chances of changing New York. The lockdowns and the money printers ruined your career, yes. It ruined my attempt to run for governor again and change the state, because that's when everything hit the fan behind closed doors. You're right. And it stopped there. It made everything impossible. It wrecked it. It destroyed the Libertarian Party in New York State. It trashed I'm still shadow banned now because of it. I got shadow banned back then because I dared to tell the establishment they were wrong. Yeah, I'm with you. It is absolutely horrible. Yes. And Sam says, to this day, the left refuses to hear that. I agree. They don't want to hear it. They don't think that it's even their thing. They think you're silly for bringing it up. I agree. Karen says the right was in office when that happened, though, and the right refused to acknowledge that. Yes, there's a difference, Karen. This is the glory of the right, and they did this very well. I got to give the Republican Party credit for this, and that is they literally were in charge. You're right, but then said this was bad. Whoops, and people went, "Oh, I guess it wasn't you. It must have been the left that did it." You're totally correct. You're totally correct. But at least they won't acknowledge they were in charge, but they do acknowledge it was bad and wrong, which I think America went, oh, okay, this goes back to the other part, Karen. When you have only two options and everything else is shut down, you have who was worse on lockdowns, Democrats, Republicans. When it comes to that, it's not even close. Did Republicans lock down? Yes, you're right. But who was worse on it? No question. Democrats were worse on lockdowns. And who held it longer? No question. And who's unapologetic? When I've only got two options, and because of America, I need to make people bad. I kind of have to do that. That's like our world. So what am I going to do? All Democrats' fault. Republicans are perfect and wonderful. That's how that winds up coming across. But your point's a valid one. But look, I'm just recognizing the game, and it was well done. So yes. John goes on to say, and thank you for being a member, John. Larry, I hope this is a pattern of people who don't agree talking. The GRA interview with Dave Smith and Doug Murray was really good to see, along with Maher and Trump. Two parts. I was going to do, let me cover it. You brought up a bunch, John. Thank you for this one. Before I go any further, John is a member. If you guys want to help out, I know I'm very lenient on AMAs with letting all the comments come in. But generally speaking, I try my best to focus on members when I grab comments before I grab others. They zip by me. So if you want to become a member, you can pop up on the YouTube and click join, $49 per month, makes you a member. If you want to be a member, it helps me out. The more of this that we can do, the more members that we have, the more this grows, the more I can spend time on this, right? You could become a member on Rumble if you want to also. In fact, right now, my VA lady says over on Rumble that we are only 2 away from 400. So if you are not a member of the Rumble channel, please head over to Larry Sharpe Rumble. Follow so I can get to my 400 if you haven't done so already. So please do if you can. But no matter what, please click the button known as Lima, India, Kilo, Echo. That button is how I can get around the algo. I need to get around the algo. Mr. Rhythm, that guy. You get around him. The way to do it is by clicking the like and also commenting and, of course, also sharing. So please repost this if you could also. So why do I bring all this up? All right. If you remember me, John, I've been talking about this for a while. People were asking me, what type of shows and what's going to replace news? What kind of news shows should we watch? And what I say is it's not good, in my view, that we have to always watch left or right media, because then that media decides what's left or what's right, right? So now Fox News decides what's right and MSNBC decides what's left. Well, that's not real, but that's what winds up happening, right? We're walking away from that. The people who watch it, the demographics are getting older and older. Now I think the average viewer is in their 60s. I think the oldest demographic is, I think, CNN. And the youngest, I think, is MSNBC. I think Fox in the middle. I think last time, I think that's right. Anyway, they're all in their 60s. That's the average. So that means some are in their 80s, some in their 70s, some in their 50s, right? But the average is like 65, 68, like that area is the average. So with that in mind, what should we be watching? We should be watching more of the internet. And the internet type we should be watching is not the far left, far right. And we are doing it, sadly. Guys like Kyle Kalinske and stuff are still growing and that kind of stuff. You want to in the best case scenario, have multiple people. On cable, the best one at the moment is News Nation. They're not great, but they're the best one right now at the moment. There's no question of the major ones. News Nation's the best. And to be forward, CNN's getting better. I know some of you just want to fall out of your chair. It is relative, John. CNN is CNN's still trash. It's just the trash doesn't smell as bad. How about that? The stench of the trash is not as bad anymore. They're getting better. They're like, this isn't working. We're dying. Maybe we shouldn't be utter trash. And they're actually getting better, which is surprising because I hate CNN the most because of the smugness. And CNN's smugness is worse than all the other ones. And that's why I hate that the most. However, they are getting better. And how are they getting better? They're actually allowing better debate and other people on. They're getting better. They're letting that guy who does the polling come out and just say whatever he wants, even when the hosts go, no, that doesn't fit my narrative. He still gets to say it. Now, don't get me wrong, the host later gets to talk about how their narrative is their narrative and who cares about the polls. So they still get to say that. But at least we hear the polling now. If this was a year ago, you didn't even hear the polling unless it fit the narrative. And now they have more than one token guy who isn't left on. They used to only have one. Now they got more than one. So, yeah, they are getting better because that's what people actually should and want. They should see and want to see. This is why the concept of the Rising show on the Hill was good when they had Brianna Joy Gray, who was amazing. I know a lot of you don't like her politics. Doesn't matter. Brianna Joy Gray is a true believer. She's a real lefty. She is not a Democrat. She's a real lefty. She believes in leftism and she stands by it. And you will get her honest opinion on what a left-leaning person should be thinking and viewing. You will get that directly from her every single time. Nothing but respect for that, right? Again, her politics and my politics do not overlap. Well, in certain things they do. They don't align always. But generally speaking, they don't. Does not matter. That's what I want to hear, right? When her and Robbie were together, home run. That was great going back and forth. That was great. So I wish we had more of that, and I think more of that will work. Now, the JRE interview and Maher and Trump. Maher and Trump, I guess I said, is a good thing. Smith and Murray. I was going to do a full video on that. I just don't have the time. I'm not joking. I just don't. For me to do a show on that, and I could. I got to stop. I have to do my Mike Voss impression if I do that. To do that effectively, I would have to have a 6 or 7 hour show. But I could walk through that entire interview, debate, whatever you want to call it, back and forth, and explain why each one made the errors they made, what they should have said, what should have happened, how that should have worked, the whole deal. And I considered it. And I still might do it next weekend, maybe, but it's just a lot, right? It's a 6 or 7 hour live show. And I'll do it live. I just show it, go back and forth. I just do a live show, do commentary on it the whole way through, take comments as I always do. It would be an all day show. So I'll be doing my Mike Voss impression. By the way, Mike will be on his all day show tomorrow from I don't know, whatever, 2 to midnight or whatever he does. So I would consider doing my impression of him, but I'm not sure if I will. But this goes back to my point. This is what people want to see. They want to see long form conversations, right? They want to. And one of the things you'll notice about the comments that go back and forth on Smith and Murray is some of the comments about this are how smug Murray was. That's some of the comments you'll see. Now, obviously, people who like Murray's, viewpoint will think, well, because he's right? That's they're going to be their viewpoint. But my point is that shouldn't be a thing. What should be is, in the old school of just fighting and just blood sport, John, is if I agree with Murray, he's right and Smith is stupid. If I agree with Smith, Smith is right and Murray's stupid. You did hear and see some nuanced answers where I didn't like Murray here, I didn't like Smith here, or Smith messed up here, or Murray messed up here. And that's what we will be better Americans and better voters if we have more of that back and forth. So, yes, thank you for that. Yes, I appreciate it. I'm looking over at Rumble right now, and Joel says more and more younger people are either zoned out from any politics or only listen to a very few short videos. Also true. However, and I learned this a long time ago. People will listen to longer videos, and Joe Rogan is the perfect example of this, if it's interesting, right? The back in the day with the movies, with the Lord of the Rings, people thought, oh, no one yet. Movies got to be an hour and a half long, and that's it. No one's going to sit there and watch. And then we're watching 3 and 4 hour movies. So if it's good, we'll watch. If it's interesting, we'll listen. We will. So while you're right, that's happening, it's because the quality is low. That's the issue. It's because the quality is low. And I think you're also finding what the tariffs did to some of these shows was actually very bad. And what I mean by that is a lot of people don't like the tariffs in the way Trump did it. A lot don't. Republicans, Democrats alike. So what wound up happening? Shows wound up becoming the Trump is bad show. Well, we had that from 2015 all the way up till like, I don't know, today, right? There's the Trump bad show. And they don't work. People get tired of it. I mean, that literally was like Stephen Colbert's show for years. It was just Trump bad show. And at one point, I'm like, we're done. We don't want to watch anymore. I get it. Trump is bad. I get it. He's bad. I get it. I get it. You can stop saying it every 5 seconds. So I do think that has been one issue. So, all right, let me grab a couple more of these if I can. I'm glad you guys are popping up so many of them. I do appreciate it. All right. Mike, okay, Mike explain. Thank you. He says 4 plants in Brooklyn, 2 in Staten Island, 1 in the Bronx. The city did it. Oh. No notice to public, likely other cities too. No awareness of danger or that's being built. Yeah. This is the problem, right? And this is the issue, Mike. I understand why they do it. I'm not saying I agree. I understand why. And you know why too. Because they've made a system to ensure nothing can be built. So if they go through the system, they can't be built. Right? We all, that's how New York City works. Nothing can be built. So that's on purpose. Why? So that you only get built what the elites want to be built. Because you're either some elite heavy hitter and you bribe everybody. And again, legally bribe them, right? I showed you how the expediters work. I showed you the receipts in that video, how it's legal in New York City to bribe people and be expediters and give money and to be consultants. That's legal. That's one of the reasons why people think it's only because Trump. No. It's also why Eric Adams got away with it. Because in New York City, what he did is legal. You said, Larry, taking money from people while your mayor's legal? Yes, that's why there were no state charges. The charges were only federal. There were no state charges. And if you guys think I'm making it up, I did a full video on it, and I showed the receipts. I did a segment on it on breaking points. James Lee. Type in James Lee. I did a whole segment on it. He did 40 minutes on it. It is legal in New York City to be an actual public servant and to be a consultant and to take money as a consultant to facilitate things. It's called being an expediter. That's what that means is legal bribery. That's why there were no state charges. That's legal in New York City. That's how you get stuff done. Why am I saying that, Mike? Because I'm sure that the people who got this done used expediters to get around the Department of Buildings. Otherwise, Mike, you and I know that we live in a city. That's not happening. There's got to be public comment. Those of you may not know what that means. In New York City, that means the public gets to yell at them. They don't change anything. Public gets to yell at it. There might have to be an environmental report. Where's that, Mike? Where's the environmental report? Where's public comment? Expediter figured that out. That's correct. An expediter figured that out. Yes. There are people who literally, there's a thing in New York City, if you guys don't know this, there's an elected office called borough president. So you become a borough president of the Bronx, a borough president of Brooklyn, a borough president of Manhattan. It's like in theory, it is a county executive. In practice, it's nothing. I'm not joking. The borough president, which in theory would be a county executive, has no power. Why would they? I have a mayor. And it's only for New York City. So this is special only for New York City. New York City has borough presidents. No place else in the country has that. No place else in the world has that. No place else in the state has that. Only New York City has borough presidents, and they're elected. Okay, why would you want to be a borough president when you have no power whatsoever? Literally none. You can't make laws. You can't there's no executive orders. You literally have no power. I'm not making this up. You do your own homework. They have no power. Why? Because they have a $4 million budget to give people out. It is a grifter's paradise. That's what it's for. It's to grift. I need to get stuff built. Go to the borough president. He goes through. He acts as the expediter. He takes cash. He gives it out. He gets your stuff built. Wait a minute, Larry. Is that true? What was Eric Adams before he was mayor of New York City? He was Brooklyn borough president. I'm not joking. Absolutely true. That's how it works. So, Mike, thank you for this. I'm going to look into this. But you and I both know that's what happened. Because otherwise, you would never get that bill. If you and I wanted to build a plant someplace in New York City, okay, we'll start now. Maybe 2075, we get a shovel in the ground. Maybe. Unless you run for borough president and I start writing checks. I mean, that's the only way we're getting it built, right? There's no other way we're getting it built. So, yeah, thank you. I'm going to look into that. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Of course it's happening. Of course it is. So, yeah, it's... Shelly, yes, I was booted off Facebook for watching Larry's live stream. Yes. Happens all the time. Yep. Joel says, green people, I demand green energy. We can build batteries near the load centers. Response, not in my backyard. Yeah, probably true. The other issue is, if you're going to do that, why wouldn't you instead, right? And this is what they won't do. This is, if you actually wanted it, if it was, now I'm not an expert at all in battery factories. I have no idea how it works. I don't know how dangerous they are, how regulated they are. I don't know this at all. So for the sake of argument, it's not dangerous. Sake of argument. Okay, great. Then why don't you say, hey, neighbors, here's what we're going to do. We are going to, because New York won't just let you build stuff. That's not a thing. We'll never do that. We're going to allow for licenses now for people to build these plants. And anyone can have a license as long as they, whatever, pass a course on the dangers of batteries, whatever, right? Okay, great. Assuming they're not dangerous. Then let people build what they want to build. And then local people could build local batteries and create local jobs. Could do that. Or let's say they are dangerous. Okay, great. If they're dangerous, then you have rules on what kind of inspector you have to have or what kind of things you have to go through, whatever the case may be, right? You have all of that stuff, right? Whatever that thing might be. So you do that and you let local people build local plants. No. Here's what I'm sure of already. If the city's building them, no one locally owns it at all. No one does. Because somebody else decided they're going to make money by writing checks or being an expediter. Because that's how that works. Again, I know some of you are thinking, Larry, there's no way that this expediter thing is real. Or if you think I'm making it up, just Google New York City expediter. I'm not joking. You will see the rules on how to do it. It will tell you, here's how you can be corrupt legally. They will give you the rules. That's it. So, alrighty. Karen says, in our house, we all enjoy watching the difference of coverage when news is breaking. We literally switch between Fox and MSNBC and CNN every few minutes. The narrative is astounding. It is. It is crazy. You can tell what they think is important, right? Because there could be, for the sake of argument, it could be 3 important stories breaking. Fox will not cover one. MSNBC will not cover one. CNN will not cover one. Yes, just won't cover. 100%. Michael says, I love Brianna Joy Gray. Me too. I try. I've reached out to her more than once. She's polite to me. She's nice to me, but she is not come on my show. I get it. She's way bigger than me. She has no reason to come on my show. I get it. But I have reached out to her. She's polite to me. She's nice. She's not mean to me at all. She's very polite, but maybe I'll get big enough one day, Michael, and she'll come on my show. But you guys can help me become bigger by clicking the button known as Lima India Kilo Echo. Click that button so we can do that, right? Click that button and we can do that because I would love for her to come on my show and have a nice conversation. I wouldn't be mean to her at all. I respect her. I would never do that. So yeah, I think we could do that. So yeah. Shelly says, think about cordless power tools. Rarely do lithium batteries catch fire, but if you try to quick charge them, they would burn right away. Oh, got it. Yeah, there we go. Yes, absolutely. Sam says, which would be the best way to improve the economy in upstate New York, to encourage cryptocurrency, or to create deregulation zones to increase commerce? To encourage cryptocurrency or to create deregulation zones to increase commerce. If those are my only two options, and I actually have an assembly that would be okay with either of those two things. At the moment, you and I both know, Sam, that's not an assembly we have. But I'll take your hypothetical. In your hypothetical case, the assembly's like, hey, we don't just want to be corrupt grifters. We actually want to help New York State. I mean, that's not where that is. But again, we're in a fantasy world. Sam, I'm with you. In this fantasy world, our assembly says, forget grifting. We just want to help New York. Okay. And we're prepared to do one of two things and one of two things only. We will either encourage cryptocurrency or create deregulation zones. I think deregulation zones would be a better choice of those two. And I think the example of that is what you see in upstate New York, which was with wineries and with breweries. Create deregulation zones in areas that have physical infrastructure that has collapsed, right? So town centers that are now ghost towns, so that the roads exist, the piping exists, the electricity exists, it's just not being used, it's dying. So this way you could bring all that right in, right? So I think you create deregulation zones in areas that have currently unused infrastructure. So that's much easier to just get it up and running again, not having to rebuild the infrastructure. I'm just getting it back up to speed. I think that would be the answer if I had to pick those two, because then by default, other things would pop in. So, and then of course, the local areas get to decide what makes the most sense for them, right? Do they need, do they need a parking garage? Do they need a downtown walkable district? Is that what they need? Well, they'll figure it out, right? Local people start grabbing stuff. What do they need? Do they need, parts and equipment that they require? Do they need parks where people can walk and hang out in, and restaurants? Is that what they require? Okay, let them do it. Let them do it. So, Stray Dan is back in the house on Rumble. He says, I don't get the real ID. I'll use my passport if I don't get it before the next flight. Yeah, they're trying to force it. I got a real ID a long time ago. I've already given up on this stuff. And for those of you who remember, before John McAfee passed away, he did my show, I think back in 2019, 2020. 2 hours from his boat. I'm not joking. He was literally doing from his boat in the Arctic. He did 2 hours with me. And he got mad at me when I was talking about kind of giving up on privacy and that kind of stuff. He's like, why? I was like, I already got, like when I was in the Marine Corps, I already got a top secret clearance. So they already took all my stuff. Like they have all my goodies. They've already done all the stuff. They've got all my biometrics, right? I was in intelligence when I was in Marine Corps. They got all my stuff already, right? For me to get my clearance, they got my stuff, right? So I'm like, I don't care anymore. Whatever, take it. I don't care. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of giving up. But the real ID thing bothers me, obviously. But I get it. I guess it's the equivalent. It's a national ID card without being a national ID card, right? That's what it is. It's passport light. It's not really a passport, obviously. I mean, it does help in. There's like 3 countries. I forgot 5. No. There's actually like 5 total countries. Or it's like 3 countries, like 2 territories, something like that. It's like Canada, Mexico, and like Jamaica or something. I forgot what it is. But it's like there's a couple of countries, I think they're Caribbean, who you can actually go to using this if you go only by boat or land. But if you fly in there, you still need a passport. I don't know. It's dumb. You're not wrong, Trent. I'm explaining it, but I can't explain it well because it's just dumb. My assumption is that eventually, if you don't have the real ID, they will somehow punish you because that's what they do. So they're going to say, well, you can have this or that, or you don't have that. Yeah, no, you don't get to vote, or you don't get to have a bank account or whatever. They're going to punish you somehow. So I just gave up. I know it sounds bad, but it's just true. I'm like, fine, they already got it. Just take it, whatever. I'm done. So yes. Joel says, small platform nuclear plant is being built for Fort Drum, Watertown. Yeah, right outside of Watertown, New York. That's is that Jefferson County. Is that right? Ugh. Is that right? I think it is. Yeah, right. I hope though these become popular, safer than those grid-sized battery plants. Yeah, we have to keep going. We have to keep going. We need lots of them, right? We need lots of them. 100%. Lots of them. Yes. All righty. John says, Larry, Douglas Murray alluded to one thing of many. He was accusing Dave Smith of getting more airtime on subject matter. That pushed an inaccurate narrative, equally evil as shadow banning. Yes and no. And let me cover both of those pieces. And maybe I will do a show on this. That make me think, John. What Smith did poorly, and to be forward, Smith's a great debater, smart guy, friend of mine, great guy. I'm just saying what he did do poorly is he gave Murray far too much respect early on. Murray clearly came loaded with disrespect. He was absolutely bad faith. It wasn't even close. Absolutely used distraction. There's no tomorrow. And Dave was like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to do that thing. And it hurt him in the beginning, and that affected the entire thing. He was unable, and Joe didn't even try really very well. I mean, they weren't good. He was unable to break that narrative. And one of the reasons is Murray attacked him with some other guy. I actually forgot the guy's name. Some other guy who I guess I probably should remember more of this. I apologize. I wasn't gonna do this. Maybe I will do a show on this. But there's another guy that both Rogan and Smith know that was on the show that I guess has bad narratives. I don't know the guy. I'm not trying to be smug. I don't watch everybody, and this is one guy I don't watch. So according to Murray, this guy has bad narratives and somehow like makes the H-man, the Austrian with the funny mustache took over Germany. That guy is somehow not a bad guy or something. That's what Murray said. I don't know if it's true. I'm not saying it's true. That's what he said. And then they were like, but wait a minute, what about this? And then to your point, John, he kind of linked that to them without linking it to them. And at no point was Dave or was Rogan able to do it effectively because they were so busy defending their friend, their colleague. And that was Murray's entire plan. His plan was to have him defend this bad guy, right? Who most people hadn't heard of, right? And then it just agrees that, see, he's a bad guy. That should have been dismissed immediately. And it wasn't until it was too late. It was too late. So, yeah. Murray was actually pretty good at debating, but he was obviously just has neocon takes, which are garbage. He has garbage neocon takes. And if you're a neocon, you would have loved it, right? If you're a neocon, you would love Murray. Murray gave exactly neocon arguments, held them hard, dismissed. He was literally the woke right. That'll make Mike now mad if I said that, but he was absolutely that. So yeah, I think that's what happened. So, any case, all righty. Okay, let me keep going down here. Mike goes on to say, no bill permit, construction company name, no documentation on site. I have photos. If the city's building it, that's the reason why they did it. They got around everything. Yeah. If that's what happened. Yes. So, all right. Straight in. Thank you for the $2, my friend, over on Rumble. Good opening subject. Trump is good at entertaining anyone. True. Right? Whether you like Trump or not, doesn't matter. That guy knows how to entertain. He's literally a marketer. That guy is a marketer, a brander, entertainer. He's a showman. He is the best showman that I've seen as president in a very long time. I mean, think about the showmen who are really good. Clinton wasn't bad, but he wasn't as good as Trump. Reagan in his prime was very good. In his prime, Reagan was very good. I'm not sure he was as good as Trump, but in his prime, Reagan was Reagan was an actor, right? He was a very good showman. When it comes to Democrats, I think Clinton was probably one of the better Democrats as a showman. I don't think he matches Trump, though. Or I don't think nor does he match Reagan. But as a Democrat, Clinton was probably one of the better Democrat showmen. I'm trying to think of a Democratic showman. I can't think more. I can't think of it. Yeah, that's as far as I can go from my knowledge. From my time being, I mean, maybe like some of the older ones were. I don't know. Was like FDR a better one? Maybe. I mean, he did the fireside chats, so maybe FDR. If I go back that far as a showman, I might have to go back to the '40s to find a Democratic showman that's good. You know what? Kennedy wasn't bad. Little calm. I don't think Kennedy matches Trump though. Okay, here's what I'll say. I'm gonna try to give Democrats benefit out. For his time, there we go. I'll modify it for any Democrats listening. For his time, I think FDR probably was a great showman for his time because of his radio fireside chats. How about that? There we go. For his time. All right. There's some. Try and be good. So, Adam, how are you, sir? Greetings, old friend. Have you tried the ChatGPT joke figurine for yourself? P.S. Have you thought about getting some of the old cyberpunks in your show, like John Gilmore, Phil Zimmerman, that knew about the prison project before we did? Also, speak to these guys about decentralized commerce. I think I'll grab them all then. I have not recently, but yes, I will look for those guys. I will. Michael says, John McAfee didn't delete himself. I have a feeling you are correct. And his wife would agree. She has said so many times. She has said so many times. I completely agree. Yes. Joel says, I'm all for voter ID, but there should be no cost to the citizen to get one. Well, how they work it, there's like two types of the ID. Is like a real ID and like the extended cooler version or something. And the real ID, the real ID costs whatever the normal driver's license costs. So it's the same cost as whatever the driver's license is. Nothing extra. Or you can get the extended or whatever, the cooler one. You got to pay like, I forgot, $20 or something. You pay a couple extra dollars if you want that. So yeah. John goes on to say, Larry, one thing. Douglas, oh, you want this thing. All right. I may have to do it. Okay. Larry, one thing. Douglas Murray accused Dave Smith of being nested in the group of inaccurate videos that benefit from the algorithm, opposite shadow banning. Maybe I'll ask Mike tomorrow. Yeah, look, the reality of this is he tried to say, yeah, you're going to make me do a show on this, John. This is if I do have to do a 7-hour show, I'm blaming you. I'm blaming you for this. I'm going to do my Mike Voss impression next week, maybe, and do like a 7-hour show. See if Mike will watch that. Take that, Mike. Anyway, the issue is he did the thing was like, well, you just do it for the clicks, just for the money, right? So you're not like you're good or anything. You just clicks and stuff, right? You're not cool like I am. It was that, how dare you? It was that thing, right? So yeah. And again, he did not come back. He just, instead of, when someone attacks you that way, right, you have to counterattack. You've got to be a good enough counterpuncher. Ignoring that doesn't work. And I think both Smith and Rogan try to be like, well, that's a non-argument. That's not real. That's it. That's not the issue. You have to say something like, oh, you made that up. You've got to counter strike and get them to admit it before you move on to the next thing. And what Murray did very well is change subjects. Oh, so good. So he's in trouble. Well, let's go back to this thing that doesn't matter, but I have to push you on this one thing. And his definitions, oh my God. You've said something that makes me look bad. Let's work about a definition of something. You have to define things. No, you don't have to. Not required. Not required. And again, they haven't been through this. It sounds bad, but they haven't been through this with like policy people, right? People who just, they're used to just having conversations, which I am too, don't get me wrong. But I recognize this more now because I'm in this more, right? When you change the subject, you've got to say something like this. So if someone goes, well, now we're at X. And I go, okay, so I'm right. I would actually say that. Okay, so I'm correct. What do you mean? You change subjects. So that means I'm correct, right? I'm correct. Well, no, that brings them right back. So they can't change the subject. It brings them back because if they change it, then they've admitted they've lost, right? Which is fine. I don't mind that, but then I keep winning points. So I'm right on that one. Okay, great. Keep going. Next thing. Well, I didn't say that. Well, why can't we finish this? So I'm wrong on this? Tell me why I'm wrong. Well, no, I want to change the subject. I know you want to change the subject, John. I get it. I know you want to change the subject. I'm with you. And we'll go down that road, but let's accept that I'm right on this one. Whole lot harder when you do that. And Dave didn't do that at all. And that's what I would have done again and again and again. Every time you want to change the subject. Okay, so I'm right on this. I'm right on this one. Okay, got it. And change definition, what I would say is, does it matter? Like he did things on like, what do you mean we? So we have to now explain what we is. Okay, does it matter? What do you mean? Does it matter? If the we is you, if the we is me and you, if the we is these four guys, if the we is me and the mouse in my pocket, does it change my point? Well, then why are we asking? So you just want to change the point because you know you're wrong? That's what I would actually say. So you just want to play with definitions because you know you're wrong? Is that why? Because I'm right again? That is how I would actually play that consistently with Murray. I'd be doing that again and again and again. Oh, she changed definitions now because you know I'm right. Is that correct? I'm fine. So if I'm right no matter what, let's do definitions. I tell you what, I'll win on the point, you win on definition. How about that? You do that again and again. And again, you have time here, right? Because Joe Rogan is not going to interfere. And that's the issue. There was no real moderator. This was a conversation. So Murray came out hot, came out taking over, and he took over the entire thing and ran the entire thing. I would have not allowed him to run the conversation. And that was the error of both Smith and Rogan. They allowed Murray to run the conversation. That shit wouldn't have happened if I was there. He would have not run the conversation. He'd have been caught several times, having to come back to the point or admit I'm wrong, admit I'm right, or walk away on purpose and the whole audience goes, oh shit, Larry was right again. Damn, Larry's right again. Huh. Larry's right again. That's what would have happened. So, yes. Missy there with it. Thank you for the McAfee interview. Yes, that was probably 3 or 4 years ago. I forgot how long it was. Maybe 5 years ago. It was like 2019 or 2020, one of those two. So yes, absolutely. Yep. 100%. So Phil says, I didn't realize how late it was. I know, Phil. I'm sorry I'm late. God, rubbing it in. I know I'm late. I had to work today. Some days I work 7 days a week. I'm working tomorrow too. I'm doing phone work all day tomorrow. So yes, I'm doing it again. I'll be doing it there too. So yeah, absolutely. So Adam says, Nick Szabo. Yeah, I reached out to him before. Him and I have talked. I met him at, where did I meet him? Was it like a YAL event? No. Bitcoin event? No. I think it was Freedom Fest like 4 or 5 years ago. Something like that. So I never got him on, but I was going to get him on. I didn't push it. I should have. I should have. I didn't, but I should have. So John says, oh, thank you. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, my friend, for the super chat, $20. I appreciate it. I do need to I probably should do a show on that to explain how that should have worked, what would have been better tactics. Because the problem is when people, and it's going to sound dumb, but it's true when it comes to America. America hears certain accents differently. Americans do, right? Americans tend to hear German or Russian accents as harsh. And we tend to hear Latin accents like French or Italian as attractive. And we tend to hear British accents as intelligent. That's how we hear it. That's where our cultural ear has been trained for that. So when the British guy starts talking, people go, that guy's smart. Why? Because he's got a British accent. That's how Americans often think. So you've got to check those people on purpose because culture says he's smarter than you. He has a British accent. I know it sounds dumb, but if you're an American, you know what I mean, right? So that's kind of what our cultural ear does. So you have to change that and deal with that. So yeah, John, thank you. Maybe I will do it. Maybe I'll do it next week. All right. I'm going to make Mike jealous. I might do a longer show than him next week. No, I don't want to do that because Mike will then double down. Mike will do a 9-hour show just to say, I'll teach you. He just like a 12-hour show the other week. So he's already beat me on that one. The longest I've ever gone is 8. Usually I only go about 2, as you know, about 2 hours. Longest I've ever done is 8. And that was punishment. I don't know any further than that. So yes. Let's see if I can grab this if I could. Let's see here. Daryl Cooper. Thank you, Phil. That was the guy. Daryl Cooper. That's who it was, right? And Phil goes the other guy, Ian. Thank you. Yes, those are the guys. And I guess they're all friends, which I did not know that. Super Weapon, same thing. Thank you for that. Yeah, it was Daryl Cooper. Thank you. He says, Daryl Cooper said Churchill made the war in Europe worse and deadlier. He says he was joking that because of Churchill was the real villain. It's a tough position, but it's not entirely wrong. Yes, it is a nuanced position. And you could theoretically, if you're trying to nitpick, you could see Churchill as making mistakes that lengthen the war. I think that's true. You could see that. Does that mean Churchill's a bad guy? I mean, you could see that too, right? And if you noticed, when Obama came to the White House, he took the bust of Churchill off the mantle. And one of the reasons is many he has, as most of you know, he has a Kenyan family, and there are many people in Africa who do not like Churchill because they think he's a colonizer. They don't like him. So there is a cultural piece for people who have direct African ancestry to not like Churchill because of that. So yeah, that's a cultural issue. But no, I do think he's got a point, right, to what he's saying. But here's the problem. If you're a neocon like Murray is, and you're British like Murray is, Churchill is like Jesus. So Cooper's actual crime wasn't lying. His crime was blasphemy. His crime was heresy. This is the worst of all crimes. I told you more than once. The worst crimes you can have are heresy and sacrilege. Those are the worst crimes. So Darryl Cooper's crime in Murray's eyes was heresy. It was blasphemy. So you can't let that stand. I would have brought that up. I would have actually said, so Murray, you just love Churchill and you can't criticize him. Well, no. And Murray would say this, well, you can criticize him, but no, there's no but. That's the problem. Whenever you say criticize but, what you mean is you can't. So in your eyes, Churchill is divine, and because he's divine, he's beyond reproach, correct? No, then I would ask him, okay, so where would you attack Churchill? He'd have no answer because he can't blaspheme, right? Murray can't blaspheme, right? Because that's his Jesus, so he can't blaspheme. So he wouldn't say anything. Okay, got it. So he's your Jesus, and you just can't say. And that's how I would have dealt with that issue. Okay, so you just, no matter what, he's perfect. You can't. Okay, got it. No, look, he's your Jesus. I would have said that. He's your Jesus. He's your savior. I can't talk to him because I'm insulting you. He's fine then. And then boom, all of a sudden, everything's about Churchill now is stupid. There are ways of getting around this, right? That they didn't do. They were obviously, this guy Cooper is their friend, and they want to defend their friend. And I get it. He's your friend. Someone attacks your friend, you want to defend him. And I think Murray is smart. He's brilliant. So he said, oh, I'll do that, and they will all take the bait. And they took the bait. I would have not taken that bait. So, yes. Any case. All righty. Jason says, Dave Smith won that debate. Anyone without bias who watched that knew Murray was avoiding the actual topics because his argument sucked. Yep, I think it's accurate. But it doesn't mean that errors weren't made, Jason. But you're correct. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. All righty. Rick says, popping into comment, but I'm not able to watch right now. Oh, thank you. Maher's account. This makes me think even more that our politicians who are allowed to win are in a staged play. You know, I'm glad you brought that part up, Rick, because I think a lot of people didn't get that piece. And for those of you who didn't see it, Bill Maher talked about his dinner on his show Friday night. He talked about the dinner on his show. And when he talked about the dinner, what he brought up was how the guy who he met was not the guy that he sees on TV. That's what Bill Maher says. I wasn't there. I'm telling you what Bill Maher said. But I believe it, to be forward. He said it, and I believe it. And this is your point, Rick. Trump is a showman, and he will go on stage, and he will do what's right. I mean, one of the reasons why he's the president is because of that skill set he has. And you can be mad at it if you want to. It's still true, right? He's still good at it. He's a good marketer. He's a great showman. That's what he is. Whether you agree with his policies or not, fine. He can be an absolute jerk too, right? There's no doubt he can. Even people who know him say the guy can be a jerk. But again, he can also be very friendly and nice too. And I feel like he turns it on when he needs to turn it on, turns it off when he turns it off. I think he does both. And I think he was like, you know what? I need to be in front of people and start screaming and yelling, showing strength. That's what I'm going to do. And I think you understand something. When people are looking at you in front of others and they want you to be their fighter, they want you to show strength. And it's common. They want, right? Rick, if you're running for office and you're my fighter, I want you to be shaking your fist and fighting. That's what I want. You're my fighter. I'm voting for you. You're my guy. Do your thing, right? That's what I want. Trump is great at that. But now if you and I are talking, I don't want you being a fighter to me. Rick, I want you to be nice and calm and cool. Tell me how handsome I am, right? I want all that stuff. That's what I want. How smart I am. That's what I want when I'm talking to you. And Trump does that too. So I think he actually is the same guy, but both are showmen. That's where I would go. So, yeah. So John goes on to say, last night, Bill Maher also interviewed Steve Bannon. And I thought that was good to see. This is the thing about Bannon that I think is funny, right? I think the Steve Bannon, when he now has been on a couple of the left-leaning shows, this making a lot of Democrats unhappy. Remember, Steve Bannon for the Democrat establishment is one of the worst people on the planet to them, right? I mean, he's up there with just the worst. He's like right next to Trump. Like he's a terrible guy to them. They can't stand him. So the idea that he get any platform, just they want to jump out of their skin. They can't stand it. He was one of the biggest reasons why they got mad at Newsom, right? So I think that that's a big deal for that to happen. Now, the issue is it affecting Steve Bannon? I would argue it is. Why? Bannon talked about, if you saw this, John, Bannon talked about taxing the rich. Yes, he did. He talked about taxing the rich. He's done that more than once. He's talking about like left-leaning populism stuff. Steve Bannon, what is going on? I would have never thought that was true, right? I've never thought that was true, but maybe. So, I mean, what are you going to do? So John says, also goes, Larry, I thought Tim Pool did a good interview of the dinner that Bill Maher had with Trump. Oh, overview. Sorry, overview. I didn't see it. Tim Pool puts out so much content, similar to what I do. It's hard to watch all of his stuff. He puts out so much content. It's tough to watch all his stuff. I try to pick and choose what I grab of him, the things that I think come to me more. And I felt like I had enough of an overview, so that one I didn't watch. But if you think it's good, I'm happy to take a peek at it. If you think it's really worth watching, I don't know is my point. The issue that I have is, again, I try to pick and choose, right? I try to pick and choose. So let me see where that is. Let me see if I can, hold on. Okay, I will look for it. Thank you. All right, I'm grab here again. All righty. Mike says, not possible to do longer than me. Yeah, I know, show off. Longest show was 14 hours and some minutes, as I recall. One day I will do 24 hours, maybe if I can raise 50K for charity. No, Mike. If you're going to do one, okay, I'm going to be in nudge here. If you're going to do one that long, you got to do it longer than Cory Booker's 25 hours and 4 minutes, or whatever that was. You got to break Cory Booker. If you're going to do it, you got to beat Cory Booker. Then yes, absolutely. 100%. Then yeah, that would be kind of cool. Yeah, I've never done 14 hours. I don't think I'd even try. I mean, maybe I would. I don't know. Now I'm thinking, man, make me think, do I want to push myself and see how long I can go? I mean, I can really talk for a long time. The question is, though, can you do it with no break? My 8-hour show that I did, no break. You can see it. It is straight through. No food break, no bathroom break, no break. I did 8 hours straight. It was like doing a filibuster. So I did 8 hours, no break at all. Nothing. So question is, could you do 14 hours, no break? Don't know. Maybe. That'd be tough. That would be tough. So, all righty. Nate, how are you, sir? Did you hear anything about the Siemens exec from Spain that died in a helicopter crash? That was terrible, wasn't it? I guess he was a linchpin for some NATO deals. They were in New York celebrating the kid's birthday. Very sad. Yeah, him and 2 or 3 kids? His whole family died. Him and 2 kids. It's 5 people, I think, died, right? Him, wife, 2 kids, pilot. Yeah, all passed. Terrible story. Yeah, I did hear about that. I don't know. I didn't know about this special NATO deal. I don't know. I didn't hear about that, but not surprised if it is all I'm saying. So yes. All righty. Karen says, do you have any regrets about not taking the LP-NY chair position when you were the heir apparent? Do you mean in 2018? Yes. Um, how it works in New York State, for those who don't know, if you run how it used to be back in the day, 2018, if you were able to get 15,000 signatures or more, you get on the ballot. If you got 50,000 votes or more on election day, you officially gained your party. And the person who was the governor candidate was officially the chair of that party for the future. I did not take that chair, and I didn't do it for several reasons. Number one, it would have been very hard. I had already not worked for a year and a half. I was about $100,000 in debt, and I had to go back to work to make money back so I can keep my family together. So that was reason number one. That was the biggest reason. But there was a secondary reason too. I didn't want to be that tyrant. I wanted to allow libertarians in New York State to take advantage of what I had done. My goal was to break a hole. I said so, Karen, you remember. I said, I'm going to break a hole, and then I'm going to let everybody else run through it. And that's what I did. I didn't walk from the party. I let other people run the chair. I was not chair. I wasn't even part of the executive committee. I won the party. I became the chair, and I did two things. One, I opened the first meeting as chair, and two, the first thing I did was I ran the election that replaced me. I wrote in the rules because the rules weren't being written. There was a big fight in the rules. And for those of you, this is a little inside baseball, but you asked, so I'll tell you. In 2018, there was a fight within the party on what rules we could and should use and who should do it. I thought the rules were going to be, easy, simple, and done and prepared. They were not. We didn't know how to act. And that was the part that I didn't understand. The Libertarian Party had never been a party before and really did not know how to act. And some people thought they did, and they were utterly wrong. And they were like, we don't need this, we don't need that. And then they fought each other. And some people were trying to literally, I'm not joking, they were literally trying to sabotage the party so it would fail. So the people were asking me to come back in to rewrite the rules. So I came and rewrote the rules. I threw people out of the party. I just threw them out. You can't be part. Because how it works, by the way, in New York State is whoever is the chair, this is election law. I can write whatever rules I want. I can put anybody on my board I want just through fiat. I could just do that. I didn't. I kept everybody who was elected on, except for like three people who were literally trying to stop. I threw those three people off and wrote the rules up. And then we put the rules together that I wrote in the rules that I cannot be the chair. This way, it was obvious I could not take over the party and be a tyrant. And for that, how was I rewarded? By half of the party calling me a tyrant. My reward for not being a tyrant when I had a chance to be a tyrant was to be called a tyrant by at least half the party. That was my reward. And there are some people who still think that he's a tyrant. They're just selfish and or stupid and or jealous because they're unimportant now or whatever their issue is. They've got some issue, whatever. But clearly, I was not a tyrant. I had the option to be a tyrant. I was not one. Now I wish I was. So being a tyrant would have been a better answer. Why? Because what the party did was the people got together. They fought amongst themselves. They did purity tests. They decided that they knew what was better than everybody else. They were mean and nasty and followed the silly rules that made sure that the worst people stayed in were involved and threw everybody else out. They wouldn't allow the system to raise money. They were a disaster. I regret, Karen, completely. I should have taken the party. I should have been a tyrant. I should have thrown out the pieces of garbage who were in there wrecking everything. I should have thrown them right out. That's what I should have done. I did not. So I do regret. I should have thrown at least 5 or 6 people who literally wrecked the party. I just thrown them the fuck out immediately. Gone. I should have just been a tyrant. I should have then helped us to raise money. I should have shown them how to raise money, which I did not do. I should have let people in the party who weren't libertarians to teach us how to raise money, like the Japanese did, as they brought Americans in to figure out how to, work and then threw them out. That's what I should have done. I didn't do that either. I have lots of regrets that I didn't just take over the party, fix it as I should have fixed it, and then walked away. They were going to call me a tyrant anyway. So why did I even try to be a good guy? I should just been the tyrant. As I said, I should have been a transparent tyrant because I'm all about transparency. I should have been a transparent tyrant, taken the party, fixed it, put it up to speed, and then walked away. So I regret that. A lot of people should have been thrown out and treated like the pieces of garbage that they are. I didn't do that. My mistake. I should have raised money for the party. I didn't do that. My mistake. I should have forced people to get out and do things or be removed from the executive committee. I didn't do that. The party needed a transparent tyrant, not because tyranny is good. That isn't the reason. Because the system in New York State is so broken that the only way to get anything done is to do that so you can prepare yourself to fight against the big boys. Now, if you're libertarian, you go, well, you're stupid, Larry. Shut up. You're an idiot. You know what you're talking about. That's what I'll tell you. The party doesn't exist anymore. Our party in New York State does not exist anymore. We can't run candidates. We can't do shit because I didn't do that. So you can talk your stuff about Larry, you're bad or whatever. Great. Now what do we have? Nothing. We got nothing now. If I had done that, we'd have something now. We'd have something. And I'd have walked away anyway. So then other people would be in charge now. We'd have a regular party. We'd have people running for office. We'd have stuff going on. I have lots of regret, Karen. I wish I had been that person, and I wasn't. So if 2022, no. Since 2018, it doesn't matter. But 2018, I wish I had. Just being honest. You ask the question, I will always give you the honest answer. That is what I wish. So, yes. All righty. Let me keep going down here. Sean says Dave Smith won by default. Douglas had zero arguments and mostly was debating with himself. True, and he was straw manning like there's no tomorrow. He was straw manning all day long. I think you're right, Sean. Yes. But the problem you have to have here, Sean, is your goal, and I don't know what the goal was, but is your goal to change people's minds and to bring in new people, or is your goal to win the argument for your own people? Clearly, Dave won the argument by anyone who's even close to liberty-leaning, right? I mean, even if you're not libertarian, if you're just kind of close to liberty-leaning, clearly he won. You're correct. But what if you're neocon? I'm not sure. Right? I'm not sure, Sean. If you're a neocon, maybe he still won. So, yeah. Mike says, for $50K for charity, I can do 36 hours. No way. 36 hours, Mike. All right. Now I got to start thinking about how I do this. Okay. Yeah. Phil says, pee bottles and tea. Well, yep, that would help. Yes, absolutely. Mike goes on to say, yes, done it with no breaks, 12 hours, 3 years ago. There we go. Okay. There we go. We can do it. Phil says 24 hours is adult diaper territory. Well, if that was the case, Phil, I would do it by myself, no one else in the room, and I would not tell you. But yes, if that were the case. So, yeah. Shelly says, that's what surgeons use. Oh, is that true? Do surgeons have diaper? That actually makes sense. I never thought about that. Yeah. You can't leave in the middle of a surgery. Right? Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Shelly says, libertarians are great, but the party sucks. True, Shelly. That's true. Laura says, great rant. Yes. Yes. Sometimes you have to fight through because libertarians are our own worst enemies. They are our own worst enemies. They're so worried about virtue signaling. They're so worried about that. They would rather let everything else burn. And remember, the system is made, and Lars, you know this better than anybody here. You watched it happen. The system is made to ensure the little guy fails. So if you just follow the system and you're a little guy, you fail. The system's made for that. So it works perfectly. So you've got to go out of that, right? You've got to go out of that. So, yeah. I didn't make Karen angry. I thought I might have. She said, I really respect your answer. They need to be thrown the F out. I'm satisfied so much by your response. Yes. And sadly, Karen, to your point, the only one at that point who had the current, who had the political clout, who could have done it was me, because I had won the thing, right? In 2019, 2019, I would even say 2019, I was one of the most popular libertarians in the country, right? I had just done what I did in New York. I had tons of political clout. I was very popular in the Libertarian Party. I could have done that. You're right. And that's why I regret it. I regret not taking advantage of my political clout at the time and not making that happen. And I should have. So, yeah. Phil says spicy. Well, yeah. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. That's an issue that I sometimes do get spicy here or there. I do get spicy sometimes. I try not to, but I do. So, any case, Joel, libertarians subjugate me harder, Daddy. They wanted it, and I should have. Look, it would have actually been voluntary, Joel. It would have been voluntary. And look, I'm not against you being subjugated as long as it's voluntary. You do you. You do you. There's an industry, for the dominatrix. There's an industry for that. People pay for it. So, you know what, Joel? I'm good with that. Yes. So John says Churchill was not the sellout that was FDR. Churchill and most U.S. generals wanted to push back Russia after World War II. But it was FDR that stopped it and gave half of Europe to Stalin because he liked Stalin. True. Absolutely accurate. Yes. What most people don't know is that not only did Churchill want to immediately attack the Soviets, as your point, U.S. generals too, and the Germans did too. One of the reasons why the Germans were trying, they couldn't because FDR wouldn't let them negotiate peace, was so they could all fight the Russians. Yes. But Larry, they were Nazis. Yes, they were. One of the biggest things they were fighting against wasn't just ethnic issues. Clearly, that was a big chunk, but it was also against communism. That's true. So, yes, you are totally correct, John. That is absolutely correct. Yes. All righty. Let's see if I can grab here some more. Let's see. Sean goes on. What did you think about Douglas saying that libertarians are the bisexuals of politics and we should just pick a side already? That just shows what a neocon is, right? That shows what an establishment hack he is, right? Douglas is now completely established. I don't know if he ever wasn't, but for sure, he's totally establishment. Anyone who just goes, pick a side, just means you're establishment, right? And not just that, you're probably also privileged, right? You're probably privileged, but surely establishment. Because you just go pick a side. You don't get a choice, Sean. Choice. You don't get that. No choice for you, right? What you get is left or right. Why? Because I say so, because I've picked one side. And my side obviously is the right side. You're obviously just a child or stupid or whatever. So that was just an insult, right? The problem is for most libertarians, Dave included, sexual orientation jokes aren't taken as insults. And hear me on this. I remember a while ago, this is completely stopped, but back when I first started my show, when people were insulting me, they would often make a gay slur to insult me. If I'd have a trans person on my show, which I have many trans friends, I'd have one on my show, or have gay people on my show. I have a lot of gay friends. I have them on my show, whatever. Like, yeah, Larry's gay, whatever, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, I don't care, whatever. Doesn't bother me. I don't see that as an insult. The problem is others do. Murray used the bisexual comment as an insult. Dave didn't actually care. Like, he didn't see it as an insult. Most libertarians don't care about sexual orientation at all. It's not a thing for us. We don't care. Whatever. Do you. We don't care. So Dave is the same way. So he's not like, oh my God, he called me gay or whatever. Whatever. I don't care. Right? We don't see that as an insult. So because of that, Dave didn't respond to it. He kind of laughed it off. He should have seen it as what it was, which was a way to diminish. Murray is woke right. So what does he do? Diminish, disrespect, right? You can't talk to Dave. Why? He's a bisexual of politics. So of course don't talk to him. So that's what he was doing. And that's the part that Dave didn't respond to or didn't get, whatever. Even though he didn't see it as an insult, it was meant to disrespect and diminish, right? To just push him away. You can't talk to him because he's this. He can't pick a side. So clearly he's not serious. That was the entire piece. So the response to that is, oh, so only your side's correct? So only one side's correct? Just one? So the fact that I can go to both sides, that's a bad thing? That's the response to that, Sean, right? The response to that is that. The response is, oh, so just being one-sided is right? So it's a bad thing that I can see both sides. That's bad in politics? Well, that's not. Then it will dodge and dodge and dodge. So You've got to counter that because it is an attack, even though he didn't take it as one. The audience could see it as one. So if he's going to diminish me, I have to counter diminish him. A counter puncher is the best way of dealing with this, right? Sometimes you come out hard. Sometimes you do. But generally speaking, it's better to be a counter puncher when you can. So, yes. Yeah, see, super weapons. Dave did respond, but more to the point of being hetero and married. Yes, but now you're validating it. Right? You're right. He goes, but not to the slight for Murray. Correct. Because now you're validating it. I'm not going to validate that. I'm going to lean into it. Okay, great. So I go both ways. Okay, great. So I go both, so I can see left and right. How come you can only see one? Seems to me I'm smarter than you now because I can see both. You only see one. I have you at a disadvantage. Maybe you should pay more attention to me than to you. That's the way I would counter that, right? That's the piece. Phil goes on to say, Dave Smith's part of a group called the Legion of Skanks. I think it's hard to offend him. True. And I'm happy about that. Like, I'm glad he wasn't offended by that, right? I don't think he should be. I'm not offended by that kind of stuff. I'm glad he's not. Plus, Dave's been through a lot of stuff. He's got very thick skin, right? To insult Dave, you really gotta you gotta work for it, right? You gotta work for it to insult him because he's been through a lot. He's got very thick skin. He's a comedian too. On top of it, it's tough. It's tough. You could do it, but you really got to work for it. That's not a simple task, right? So I get that. I just think he should have responded, is what I'm saying. So yeah, that's it. Phil goes on to say, Douglas Murray and James Lindsay are smart but disappointing. They gain some clout and use the gatekeep. It's the idea you hear all the time from people in minority groups. I made it, then I pulled the ladder up, right? I made it out. Now I pull the ladder up, somebody else can come. They gatekeep. Totally true. They gatekeep. And I think that would have been one of the biggest pieces I would have brought up, right, on that piece. I think that's important. So, yes. Karen says, the argument about gay versus straight is literally the argument for mob rule over individual liberty when based on numbers. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think you're wrong at all. I agree with that. One of the hardest things when you're in a debate like that is that it wasn't really a debate. And I've been there too. Right? I've gone into events where I was trying my best to not debate, trying my best to not debate, trying my best to have conversations because I'm talking to the audience, right? Trying to have a real conversation, trying to turn that person's audience. And I have failed more than once because the person on the other side simply was not acting in good faith. Their goal wasn't to be right. Their goal was to win. Their goal was to own the libertarian. Their goal wasn't to have a good conversation. And sometimes particularly when I was running for office, when I'm running for office, I try my best to not be that guy who's that aggressive. I'm not running, I don't care. I'm much more open when I'm not running. But when I'm running, I'm trying to gather votes, right? When I'm running, I'm trying to get votes. I feel like Dave and also Rogan went into that conversation trying to have a conversation, trying to just talk more. And I feel like Murray was like, no, I need to win. I am here to show people that I am pious and that I can win. I think that was the issue. So, yes. Grab a couple super chats if I could. Super Weapons, thank you for the $5. Can I speak to Murray's obsession with experts? Can only have the microphone when it comes to geopolitics. Very elitist on his part. Yes. Okay. Yes. This part of, well, have you guys gonna force me? Okay. I'm gonna have to do a long show because I'll go through the whole thing. I'm gonna have to go through the entire thing. Okay, I'm gonna have to. I don't know I'm gonna blame one of you guys for that. I don't know who I'm blaming. I don't know. Blame you, Super Weapons. I don't know. No, I'm blaming one of you guys for this. But yes, okay, maybe I'll do it next week. Anyway, the point being, this concept of this is how he got away with it. Murray said, of course you can speak. It's just blah, blah, blah. How could you? And you call yourself blah, blah, blah. And what Dave should have said at the second he said that, of course you can speak. I would go, no, no, you can't. You just said I can't. Well, no, you can't. No, no, you're saying I can't. You're saying that my opinion is by default irrelevant, unimportant, invalid, because I don't have your credentials and you decide what the credentials are. That's what you're saying. That's what I would push back. No, no, I'm saying you can. No, no. Then why do you keep asking and saying this piece about you have to be an expert? Why? And that was not done. Murray was lying. He was saying, no, you can. No, 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 no. That's not true. You don't really mean that. You're just saying that and then saying you can't. It's like saying, no, 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 you can like blue. You just can't like blue because it's a terrible color and dumb people like blue and people who like blue are crazy and insane. So I can't like blue. No, no, you can like blue. It's just that you can't really because it's so terrible and only crazy. That's what he was saying back and forth. And why would anybody listen to you talk about blue? That's what he was saying. And so, yeah, it's horribly elitist, but it isn't the point. The point is I have to dismiss you. That's what this does. It dismisses because he doesn't want to talk about the issue. He wants to dismiss the people, right? This is the same thing this is the same thing, no difference as someone on the left going, as a black person, right? That kind of thing. So, oh, you can't talk to that because you're not black. Oh, see, yeah, you can't say anything. As a woman, you're not a woman, you can't really say anything. Yeah, you can't just do that. Yeah, no, you can't. You're not a woman. Well, of course you can have an opinion on it. And it might be valid. It might be very valid on any given thing. So anyway, yes, it is crazy elitist. Peace Logic, thank you for $2, my friend. Joining late. Hello, I am here. I'm late too. Not just you, brother. Brother, not just you. Me too. We're kind of all late. So yeah. So there we go. All righty. Josh goes on to say, I didn't see the whole Smith versus Murray debate. I did find it weird how all of the neocons on X shared the same clip of Murray owning or beat down Smith, like it was organized copy and paste, because it was. And that was my earlier point, Josh. Is your goal to just be correct, or is your goal to influence the other? Clearly, Dave Smith actually won the debate, obviously. But then again, I'm a libertarian. So yes, right? I'm not going to agree with Murray. I'm just not, right? Obviously, I'm not a neocon. I'm not going to agree with him, right? I'm not. And Murray's clearly a neocon. But if you're a neocon, to your point, the neocons all thought Murray crushed it. Of course he did. The neocons thought that. My goal would have been to cause some doubt in neocons. And I don't think that Smith did that very well. I don't think he caused a lot of doubt in neocons. And then maybe that wasn't his goal, right? That may not have been his goal. That would have been mine. My goal would have been to cast some doubt into neocons, to make them think that their awesome guy isn't so great, to put some doubt in there. That would have been my response. So, yeah. Celine says, Douglas Murray has a degree in English. He's not qualified either. An autodidact can be more educated than someone with a degree. Correct. My degree is in anthropology. I hardly ever talk about that. I mean, once in a while, but hardly ever. So yeah, I agree, 100%. But see what Douglas said. What Douglas did was try to find a hole, right? Which then destroys everything. It was actually brilliant what he did. He's like, when have you been to the region? And Dave was like, no. And he was like, so taken aback. What? For someone who talks so much, you've never been to the region. Blah, blah, blah. And now everyone's like, oh, see, look at that, blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. That was a big piece, right? That was a big thing he used. And a lot, of course, people say, oh, see, he's just some guy talking drag. Why would you listen to it? That's dismissive. Doesn't matter if Dave is correct or not, right? Doesn't matter. So again, what's the response to that? Oh, is that true? Okay. So anyone who is disabled is invalid now? What? If you're disabled and you can't get to a certain spot, you can't talk about anything? You're now invalid? So anyone who is disabled is now invalid. Is that correct? That's what you're saying? That's the response, right? As he does his, how dare you, you respond with, how dare you? You got to double down. They go left, you go further left. They go right, you go further right. They go woke, you go double woke, right? Because when you go, if they go woke, you go unwoke, you're fighting. They go woke, you go more woke. You can't go any further. You go left, they go. If you've watched me this, I will often, someone goes left, I go further left. They go right, I go further right. So that's the actual response. Wow. So anyone who's disabled, they're invalid. So if they can't physically make it to where you made it, then it's bad. So guess what your logic then? If you went to the region and you now are savvy because you went there, because you talk to people. So if I go talk to more people there, I'm smarter than you then? So I just got, how many times you been there? 6? So I got to go there 7 and then you get to shut up? Is that how that works? So once I'm there 7 times and you're there 6, well, then you don't talk to me anymore because how dare you? Is that how that works? So when you start doing that, then they got to be like, and you can see that's how you begin to break that. Now, might not be the exact words, but that's the concept. That's the concept. That's a piece that I didn't see people do. So, yeah. Alrighty. Okay. Cage John, how are you? Thank you for being a member. As news sources change from TV/newspapers to social media /AI. Oh, don't say that, but you're right. It also seems that things have worsened. If it only seems that way due to the info saturation, what era might be perceived same or worse? If it only seems that way due to the info saturation, what era might be perceived same or worse? I'm not sure I get the question completely. The problem is with it shifting to social media and AI is that now it's easier for us to do 3 things. 1, to get into an echo chamber to where I can't even hear an outside opinion that may be different from the one that someone's right. If you listen to me and I say freedom is great and you stay in an echo chamber, you don't get to hear people who think freedom's terrible. Now, why would you want to hear that? Well, number one, because maybe freedom is great. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I'm not, but maybe I am, right? So, and if I'm good at what I do, and I hope I am, you'll hear the freedom is not and go, wait a minute, it doesn't make any sense. And it will hopefully, hearing the other side, make you understand mine better and agree with me more. Option 1. Piece 1. Piece 2. It also makes it to where we can't talk to each other. What do I mean by that? Now, I can't communicate with someone who doesn't believe that freedom is the answer because I don't know how they think. So even if I were to try to talk to someone who thinks, look, the right answer is a benevolent king, right? And they believe that. Okay. If I don't talk to that person and understand those people, I can't communicate. Even if I say something, I'm going to say my own talking points, which they're going to laugh at. I can't communicate with them. To my point, I can't go further left if I don't know the left. I can't go further right if I don't know the right. So now, even if I try to communicate, I'm going to fail. And I think that one of the most important things I found was personal for me in 2018. I think I told you that story before. As the left would not have me on their shows, the left would not talk to me at all. They were very dismissive of me. Only the right was talking to me and having me on their shows. And when that was happening, I became very good at understanding the right because I kept talking to them. And then when I got on left shows, I struggled because I didn't talk to the left. So I didn't understand them. I didn't get it. So that's why, if you notice, I spend a lot of time now talking to the left. So I understand. That's part 2. And part 3, now because that's who I see and what I care about, that's how I spend my money and my time. And what's the currency of the day? Money and eyeballs. So now the incentive is for me to keep pushing that at you. So, Cage John, if you're a lefty, I'm going to keep pushing lefty at you. If you're a righty, I'm going to keep pushing righty at you. Why? Because that's where I get the eyeballs and the dollars. So that's what I think has happened. When it was TV and newspapers, not that they were so much better, but at least we could understand each other better, right? So if you were a Democrat or Republican in 1980, as an example, you could understand a Republican if you were a Democrat, whether you agree with them or not. You could understand a Democrat if you were a Republican, right? You could understand each other because why? You watched a lot of the same shows. You saw a lot of the same things. You spoke to each other, right? So you could get what they were thinking. Even if you hated Reagan, you could understand why someone voted for Reagan. You could get it, right? Even if you hated Carter, you could understand why somebody would vote for Carter. Like you could get it. And you see people now, they can't understand how you could vote for Harris. They can't understand how you could vote for Trump. It's like, what are you, crazy? Like they can't get it. I get it completely. Completely. Like I listen. I usually talk about it. I tell people what's going to happen because I get why people are doing these things. Maybe that is my anthropology thing. What? Could be. So I hope I answered the question. I wasn't sure if I did or not. So yeah, there we go. All right. Let me see if I can grab here. Let me grab a couple of these other ones if I can. Well, you guys going back and forth. I appreciate that. Yes, I do appreciate you guys going back and forth. All right. Sean says, apparently, if you're a comedian, you can't have an opinion either. True. He did say that. Yes. 100%. He did say that. Adam says, libertarians fighting amongst themselves at the expense of the party? No. Yes. Tell me it's not so. Like every single time. Yes. Absolutely. So let's see here. Shelly says, I'm subscribed to both CNN and Fox, so I can hear both sides, but I never get any CNN notifications. It's funny. Karen mentioned that she said in her household, they watch all of them, and someone might laugh at that, but I do it too. I do it too, right? How would I know about Newsmax? Because I've watched Newsmax before, right? And I also watch MSNBC. How do I know about Joy Reid? Because I watch it. So yes. So I've got to watch it so I can understand where their heads are. People always I'm saying always now I'm being hyperbolic. People often will assign every bad aspect, every bad characteristic to the other. So if you're a Republican, liberals are stupid and they're evil and they're whatever. And if you're a Democrat, conservatives are all stupid and they're evil and every bad thing is assigned to them. Instead of just going, maybe there are people who think a certain way because of their experience and their knowledge and background. Could be that. So yeah, it could be that. That's all I'm saying. And if we actually think, not just that, why do I so often make a distinction between elites or leadership and the average, voter? Because the average voter isn't evil or mean, right? They aren't evil or mean. The average voter is doing what they think is right for themselves and or their family or community, depending upon who they are. Now, often the leadership is actually cruel and mean, right? That's why I bring up the difference. Those two are different. I will very often blame the leadership or the elites. You hear me do it all the time, often by name. It is rare you hear me blame the average voter, because the average voter is just listening to what they think is right and doing what they think is right. And is actually, believe it or not, most voters are actually, if you have a conversation with them, they're able to be turned, to be shifted, to be adjusted, if you can have a conversation with them, if you understand them. If you don't understand them, of course you can't. There's no way. So Sean says, Fox and CNN are nothing but propaganda. Yes. However, here's why it's important, Sean. Two things. One of the corporate media. So corporate media is the approved message. So if you're a Republican, Fox gives you the approved message Republicans can say. So if you remember early on, Fox News was not okay with Trump. Back in the 16, 15, they were not okay with Trump because Trump wasn't an approved message then. Remember that? Then all of a sudden they became Trump fans. Why? Because he became the president. He became the approved message. CNN, same thing for the left. MSNBC is more of that. CNN is much more mainstream corporate, just corporate period, which leans left. Don't get me wrong. Corporate leans left. Of course it does. But I'm just saying CNN is much more just corporate. MSNBC is Democratic Party. These are the appropriate corporate Democratic corporate talking points. You listen to those. right? That's what you do. That's how that works. So that's why you should listen because of that. Second piece is the vast majority of Fox viewers and CNN viewers vote. That's why the vast majority do. Not all, but way higher than average. So if you're looking for a talking point for your town hall, looking for a talking point for any of those things, good to look for CNN and Fox News. Think if you're a Democrat, Republican. If you're a Republican and you're not getting, or you or your team isn't getting talking points from Fox News, you can do a town hall. You're making a mistake. You should. Half your town hall, again, if you're a Republican, watches Fox News. If you're, Democrat, half your town hall watches MSNBC. It makes sense for you, right? If I'm advising you, I'm going to watch it, or I'm going to have you watch it or whatever, and we're getting talking points. That's what they hear. If that makes sense, right? I'm not saying you're wrong, Sean. I'm saying that the value to it is for specific people, right? That's to specific people, yes. Nate says, further left than the left and further right than the right. The struggle of being libertarian. True. Yes, absolutely. Stalene says, I'm not libertarian, but I like Larry and what he says. It's a different perspective. This is a great show with wonderful people in the chat. Oh, Stalene, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for being a member. I appreciate that. Since we just showed that he's a member, or she, I don't know if Stalene's a guy or gal, but they, whatever's the appropriate word, Stalene, member, I do want to ask you, if you can, click the button known as like. I ask you all the time because it matters. That's why I ask you every single time. Some of you were around when I got horribly shadow banned. This is how we get around it. We have to. Please. Also, share this reposts. Put this someplace else. Pick this up and put this into a Facebook group. Pick this up and put this someplace else on Twitter or X, whatever the case may be. If you have not followed me yet on Rumble, please go do so. It's Larry Sharpe Rumble. If you haven't followed me on Sharpe Way YouTube, please do so. Sharpe Way Facebook, please do so. And X, please go do so. Just click that follow button. It's free. It's all great. When you subscribe to Sharpe Way on YouTube, make sure you click all notifications so you get notified. It does matter. I appreciate all the super chats. I'm very lenient on that in the AMAs, but otherwise I jump right to the super chats right away. So appreciate it. Also membership. I jump right away to those when I'm not on an AMA, and it's $49 per month. Why would you care? Larry, why would I give you $5 a month? For what possible reason? I'll tell you why. One, I'm good looking, and that's important. You should look at me because I'm good looking. That's number one. But besides the point. More importantly, because to Stalene's point, I'm going to give you a lot of perspectives you are not going to hear anyplace else. It's not. I'm going to give you a lot of stuff you have not thought about. Ways of thinking about things you are not thinking about. I'm going to give you a lot of inside baseball. Ton of inside baseball. And you get it live with no notes, having a conversation with people. You can ask your actual questions and go back and forth. That's why. But more importantly, would you like more opportunities for this? I'd love to give them to you. Then I got to work though. I got to pay bills. Like you got to pay bills, I got to pay bills. The more of this that happens, the less work I've got to do. So this is why I bug you to do that every single week if you can. And also a member on Rumble if you can, either one. Click subscribe during the live on Rumble or click join from the Sharpe Way YouTube page. Another thing you do though, if you're a member, you get to obviously get your chats up first, but something else you get to come on a members show where you will be a guest on the show. I've done 3 already, do another one next month. So maybe this month, I might do one this month so that more people you can come on the show and just chat with me. Yes, you get to be on the show with me and just talk. I've done it 3 times. I'll keep doing it. Only members get that. One more thing members get. If you're a member, you can send me stuff you want me to react to. I've done 2 or 3 of those already. So, and it doesn't matter what it is. If it's political, good. If it's not political, it could be, I don't know, cartoons or some new cool hip thing the kids are doing. You kids, get off my lawn. Could be that too. I don't care. Could be some spicy stuff. Not too spicy, but it could be spicy. Whatever it is. Could be anything you want. I'll react to it. Give my honest reaction. So even that's what happens when you get membership. So if you can, be a member. It's cool if you can be a member. So I appreciate that, Celine. I really do. All right. Let me grab here if I can. Celine says, always like, and goes on next. There we go. And Celine says, she. Thank you. There we go. She. There we go. Wasn't sure. K. John says, Larry, as eloquent and enlightening as your answer was, I meant to say, if you apply today's media to another historical era, which might look as bad or worse. Oh, thank you. Great question. What era would I have to match it to? Probably very early America, like 1760s, 1770s, 1780s, 1790s, like that. Very early USA and pre-USA. Why? Because there was a very distinct difference between two types of media, imperial or the king's media and rebel media, right? I think that, and it was very common for people to be that way. You were in the coffee houses of the rebels, or physical coffee houses of the rebels, or physical coffee houses of the loyalists. So probably that would be the closest I could find to this. Civil War, maybe, but we were physically divided. That's why I wouldn't say Civil War. Obviously, it's division, but we were physically divided. In the case of our revolution, we weren't physically divided. There were loyalists and rebels in every state, in every city, right? You could find loyalists and rebels in Georgia, as you could find rebels and loyalists in New York. You could find them everywhere. But the critical piece was coffee houses. And that would be the equivalent, I think, of like, I don't know, podcasts, maybe, right? Because you're all together talking. And it's going to be rare to find someone who's a loyalist in a rebel coffee house or a rebel in a loyalist coffee house. So I would say early America and pre-America would be the closest thing I could find to today. Probably. Yeah. That would look as bad or worse. And literally we went to a revolutionary war because of it. That we went to war because of it. That is what I would say. I hope that answered your question. I hope that was better. So yes. So again, Michael says, shut up and take my money. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, 100%. Sean says, libertarians are more left than the left when it comes to war, with the only anti-war party in place. No, the Green Party is anti-war. Green Party too. Green Party is also anti-war. Both of us. Now we're bigger than the Green Party, but Green Party, and I'm being fair, they are also anti-war. Both of them are. So yeah. There we go. So peace, thank you for the $5, my friend. It's like being at a political stripper joint. Oh, I like that. We just throw money at Larry. I don't want to have to get naked though. I'm gonna get myself in trouble. Can get me thrown off of peace. You're gonna get me thrown off of YouTube. Thank you for the $5, my friend. I do appreciate it. Yes, 100%. So Laura says, I am so grateful to have a place to share my thoughts, views, and feelings without hurting someone else's feelings or isolating myself from my friends. Larry, I get you. Thank you. That is so sweet. Yes, that is very sweet. Yes. So Phil says, Larry, would you do an AI art/music writing showcase? I'm not sure what that means, Phil. Are you saying you meant to react to that? Or, I mean, I use AI almost every day. AI is the future. I'm using it every day, right? If you see what's written in the show description, it's AI. At least 2/3 of my thumbnails are AI, if not more, at least 2/3, sometimes the whole week. So most of them are AI driven. So my art is AI usually. And so is almost everything in my writing in here is AI. I don't do that. So yeah, I use it all the time. I'm not sure what you're asking me though. So I don't know. So John says, Larry, I'm very hopeful for the future with what I've seen in the last 2 days of YouTube, especially for you and what you're doing and trying to accomplish. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. Shan says, Larry would be drinking everyone's coffee. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. 100%. Michael says, Green Party is also anti-Federal Reserve. True. Yes. Anti-war is only in independent parties, third parties. That's true. Now, the Republican Party is less war than the Democrats, but not anti-war. So by percentage, less. That's what I would say. By percentage, less, but they're not anti-war. So, yeah, I think that's a difference. So if you're saying is that I've only got two pieces, I get why people will go Republican if they only have two. But if you don't, yeah. Phil says, yeah, react to people's creations. Pick a few you want to discuss. I would do it. If people cared, yeah. Send a bunch, we should be okay. Phil goes on to say, Larry exposes his soul. True. There's a reason why I do it, though. There's a reason why I do it, right? And the reason why I do it is if I'm out there and telling you who I am openly, there are two massive benefits. Number one, the odds of someone all of a sudden deciding that they're going to get me somehow with some kind of horrible story that I did something. I probably already told you the story. Like you probably already heard it. Like you already know how I feel about things, right? So that's important. Number two, hopefully one day I will be super popular and everyone will think that my opinions matter tremendously. I hope that will happen one day. If that happens, people are going to attack me and they're going to lie because that's what happens. They're going to say, Larry's this terrible thing or thinks this horrible thing. If you guys know me well enough, you will be able to go, that's not true. That's not Larry. I've been listening to this guy expose his soul, only his soul, expose his soul for 5-10 years now. That's not who he is. I'll buy it. Because you've seen me, you've watched me, you've seen me respond to things, you will go, yeah, that's not him. That's a lie. You made it up. If I don't expose my soul, if I don't do that, then you go, oh my God, it's true. You would buy. Of course you would. Of course you would. So I have to be closer to you than the guy who's going to say lies about me, which is going to happen if I'm ever able to explode the way I want to. That's going to happen. So yeah. So I appreciate that, Phil. Absolutely. So all right. Adam says that would explain throwing the tea away if all the action was happening at coffee houses. That's cute, but of course, coffee houses also had tea. So of course they both had both. But yes, that was the piece that you found, right? Once you have the candles at night and coffee, they're staying up late. That's when they're talking the trash and trying to figure out, how to do the bad thing. So yes, that's it right there. So, any case, Liberty Lady says, I've been listening to Larry for 3-ish years now. I get very annoyed when people talk trash about Larry. I appreciate that, Liberty Lady. I need more people to support me that way. I really do. Guys, I'm going to ask something very special of you, if you don't mind. When this is over, and it is about, I'm about to wrap this up. When it's over, the right now, YouTube has a new algo issue, and that is they love comments. They love them like there's no tomorrow. So I'm going to ask you this, once this is over, not now, once this is over, please come back to whatever you are watching, particularly if it happens to be Sharpe Way YouTube, and put a comment. I don't care what the comment is. Please put a comment down because that is what makes the show explode, and they share it to more and more and more. It really does matter. And what I'm going to ask you to do, if this is what I'm going to give you something to talk about, I'm going to ask you to put in, what do you think is the biggest problem with the current left-right paradigm? Or I'll go one sense further. The biggest problem or your biggest hope. Biggest problem or biggest hope, right? The current left-right paradigm, right? The Democrats, Republicans hate each other, left-right hate each other. What is your biggest hope or what is your biggest concern? What's the biggest problem with it? I'm going to take off now, guys. I do appreciate it. I'll be back on. I will be back on probably Monday. I don't think I'm going to come on tomorrow. I might, but probably on Monday. I will let you know. I will see you all very soon.